Just want to make 3 points in closing. The first is that Americans want the EPA to be doing more to stop climate change, not less. And yet, we heard from a number of our colleagues on the GOP side today, as well as from Project 2025, that EPA's rules are hurting Americans. But that's not the perspective most Americans have. Most Americans want the EPA to be doing more. We have a philosophical difference or a scientific difference. We believe that climate change is real and is a dagger pointed at the throat of humanity. And too many of our colleagues agree with the erudite gentlelady from Georgia who calls climate scientists and most Americans, by extension, climate cultists. We heard it twice from her today. Well, if there are brainwashed cultists on the issue, it is the people who are following the conspiracy theories of QAnon and assert that scientists like Dr. Fauci are trying to invent diseases. That's where the cultists come in. Secondly, a number of our colleagues wanted to lecture you, Administrator Regan, about the role of agencies, which are, of course, indispensable in implementing the will of Congress. That's why Congress set up the EPA. That's why Congress set up the National Labor Relations Board. That's why Congress set up the Department of Justice. And our colleagues have no problem using those agencies to get the things done they want to do. If you read their Project 2025, they want the President of the United States to be able to use the Department of Justice for the first time in American history to go after his political opponents. And to oh, well, if you disagree with that, then I'm delighted to hear it, Mr. Chairman.
Which Department of Justice going after political opponents? The Merrick Garland Department of Justice or the next department?
There's a case right now against the Democratic senator from New Jersey, Mr. Menendez. There's a case right now against a Democratic congressman from Texas.
I see a pattern with Democrats.
And well, wait a second. No, don't be too clever. You're a smart man, but try to follow a principled argument. You just claimed that the Department of Justice was somehow biased against Republicans, and I'm naming you cases where the DOJ is going after Democrats. Your problem is the jury system in New York, which found unanimously that Donald Trump was guilty of 34 criminal felonies. That's got nothing to do with the Department of Justice.
Well, when the Department of Justice sends the number 3 guy down there to prosecute the case on behalf of the...
Which case are you referring to?
The Trump case that you just referred to.
You're talking about the one, the District Attorney Bragg's case in New York?
The number 3 guy went down to
New
York.
All right, well, we'll have to take that up at another point, but I'm talking to you about what former President Trump says he wants to do. And if you think it's outrageous, then I am delighted to hear it, that he would use the Department of Justice.
No, I just thought it was outrageous you saying the Department of Justice under Trump was going to be weaponized when we believe that this Department of Justice has been pretty darn weaponized.
Well, what is the proof of that? I just named you 3 cases where the Department of Justice is going after Democrats. And I mean, that's a very serious slur against the Department of Justice and the Attorney General.
I stand by that.
You stand by your slur then. Well, I would love us to have a complete hearing then on whether or not it's true, because I think it's wrong. And in fact, really, it's just setting the stage for Donald Trump to try to use the Department of Justice as an instrument of persecution against his political opponents, real or imagined.
Well, we don't know if Donald Trump's going to be president or not. Are you throwing in the towel, Mr. Raskin?
No. I certainly hope he doesn't try to steal the election the way he did last time. And I hope we'll be prepared this time.
So you're an election denier, Mr. Raskin.
Oh, no. I don't deny it. I affirm that Joe Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. We know that happened. And yet, I hope you're not an insurrection denier, because you were there with me that day when they came in chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Do you remember that?
I remember January the 6th.
You remember them chanting, "Hang Mike Pence"? Them trying to overthrow the election?
Unlike you, I have never not voted to certify an election.
I'm sorry?
Didn't you vote to not certify the 2016 election?
The 2016 election, I simply spoke against irregularities. I didn't try to overthrow the government of the United States. I didn't try to get the vice president not to do his job, and I didn't even go to a senator.
I've always voted to certify elections. I just want to state that for the record.
So then you would agree then that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election?
I
Did you say that?
voted to certify the election. I've said that a million times. When the 50
Did
states.
you say once that Donald Trump lost the election?
I have said that. When the 50 states certified the election was over. Now, we've gone
Okay,
over. Do you want to
then we
conclude? Let's
agree.
get off of this. Is good EPA.
I will.
here.
No, I don't mind the diversion, Mr. Chairman. But let me just say this: on the question of agencies in America, let's be clear about what the Supreme Court did. What the Supreme Court said was, of course, the agencies can adopt rules and regulations. My friend from Colorado was really mistaken about that. The agencies, even under their terrible ruling, can continue to adopt and promulgate regulations and rules under the notice and comment process we have. But the Supreme Court then, in this amazing power grab, arrogated to itself the power to determine whether or not an ambiguous or silent statute should be interpreted this way or that. So it was a political power grab by the court. That's all that they did. But Administrator Regan is doing his job. The EPA is doing its job. The NLRB is doing its job. The Department of Justice is doing the job. They've got to adopt rules. The Congress told them to. So that was a power grab by the court against the Congress of the United States. Now, what's interesting about Chevron is that was a 6-0 decision that the conservatives supported because it was giving Reagan administration era agency bureaucrats the right to revisit the way that statutes were being interpreted from the 1970s. They pushed for it then. Now they're saying they don't want the agencies to have that power. In any event, the people of America want you to have the power to have muscular enforcement of our rules for clean air, clean water, and clean climate. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.